always doing something stupid.
Hold on, let's just do this. Hey guys, welcome back to Seller Sessions, 4 p.m. BST on a Monday mindset. We're here with Steph and both Emma. We're waiting on Anne. She'll be joining us in a moment. Emma, do you want to do a quick introduction on yourself, please?
Sure. Thank you for having me, Danny. I'm excited to be here. My name's Emma Schermer Tamir. I'm the co-founder of Marketing by Emma, and we help e-commerce businesses create really great copy that is going to excite, engage, and convert their dream customers.
Excellent. And Anna, do you want to can you turn the camera around that way? Yeah. No. The other way. So like it's not portrait. Oh, it's not. It's just spinning, is it? No. Leave it as it is. Yeah, there you go. Leave it like I didn't know if it was going to just turn into square there. So, Anne's just joined us. You're keeping a gangster in the car at the moment. Where are you off to?
I am. I've had a weekend child free of children, and I've been in London and I'm all the way back. I was hoping to get back to pick my boys up in time, but thought now I'll just quickly stop at the services because I didn't want to be late.
No stress. Do you want to give yourself a quick introduction? I'll share to the groups and then Steph can do an intro.
Yeah, I'm an e-commerce and digital expert. I'm an Amazon seller myself, and I run a coaching and training program as well.
Excellent. And Steph?
Hello, I am an e-commerce seller. I am launching into brick and mortar, and I specialize in product development for beauty and CPG brands.
Excellent. Right then, ladies, books. What do we have? Starting with Emma. What's first up? I think Emma's screen is frozen. So let's go to you, Anne. What book do you have?
Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
Okay. So let's go through synopsis there. Give us a kind of overview what the book is about.
It's all about paradigms and spinning things on its head. You know that you can two people can be looking at things exactly the same, but in different ways. So different perceptions, and it's kind of like about being positive. Okay. So there's these 7 habits that all link to it, which do you want me to quickly top line give you what they're all?
Yeah. So we'll go through the habits, and the most important part of it is to understand why those habits changed your life. And which of the habits that you undertook where you could go and crystallize, right, from this book, this is what I did. I've done X, Y, and Z. Okay,
cool. So it was introduced to me by, you know, like how we all have sort of teachers along the way and we remember people at school, don't we? I remember a manager in the corporate world that was really, I suppose, just had an impact on me and motivated me and inspired me. And he introduced this book at one of his team meetings. So I think probably because he was someone that influenced me, I went and read it. You know, sometimes people recommend things, you don't always necessarily go and read it. So the 7 habits are, the first one is be proactive. In fact, I might not get them in the exact order, so don't hold me to it, but be proactive. First things first, it's just about getting stuff done. Begin with the end in mind. So, you know, and I took all these habits, not just in a work context, but also in my personal life to have better relationships. So first things first, begin with the end in mind, win-win. So always having win-win in the partnerships that you've got, synergize. And I think that's 5 actually, isn't it? I'm missing one. One is about growth. I can't remember what that last one is. But basically all of them were like to have much better relationships, whether that be in business or in your life. So I took a lot, especially win-win, because I was in a sales environment. And I think that I know I was only 21, 22 at the time this book was introduced to me. So I think in sales, I was always thinking you've got to win, but not necessarily thinking about the other person that you're selling to.
Well, it's about the numbers. You got targets and you got a carrot and stick, because it's bonuses and stuff. Yeah.
And I remember thinking, God, because surely it's got to be a win-win. Yeah. Up until then, I think I was thinking I'm winning, you know, in a naive way. And yeah, just being able to communicate better with people. So I think it's helped me even with kids. A lot of those kind of habits, really.
Do you bring that in with your own children, the win-win thing? You don't it's not like adult child kind of thing. You work a way to get a win-win for both.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And also, seek first to understand. That was what I was missing. I think that is a really important one because again, in relationships with children, partners, and in a work environment, if you seek first to understand before you push your stuff on people,
it's understanding someone else's perspective. So you try and go into their shoes to look at things from their point of view, so that you can understand why they react in this way. Like you might be in the negotiation and stuff, and it might just come down to they feel they're shuffling around, they feel uncomfortable, they're nervous or whatever, and it's about putting them at ease and trying to see it where both, and it goes back to the win-win.
And also synergize was all about growth as well together. And I think within our community, within the Amazon sellers, I see you doing this a lot, Danny, is making sure that everyone's it's like growth together, isn't it, as a community, rather than
why not
just someone pushing their stuff all over the place, sort of thing, So a lot of these habits have really stuck with me through personal and in a business context. Really, I just think they're all really good kind of things to abide by, I suppose. So definitely recommend someone going to read it. It had an impact on me as like a naive adult, I suppose, in the business world initially.
No, it makes sense. Steph, Emma, have you read the book or got any comments you want to talk about the book?
I haven't read the book, but it sounds like it's very related to the book I'm talking about today too.
Okay, cool. Emma, do you have any passing comments?
I haven't, but I love all the ideas that you speak about, and I think it's fantastic that you were able to be introduced to that at such an early age and be able to internalize those things rather than having to build a bunch of new habits. You kind of had the opportunity to create good habits right from the get-go.
Yeah.
Okay, so, and obviously stay with us because you can jump in between on these other books. Steph, you go up next as you've got something a little bit similar. So what's the book that you've got?
So my book is The Obstacle is the Way by Ryan Holiday.
Yes.
And it's about, like, to sum it up in like 2 words, it'd be about thinking differently. So the book is surrounded by like a million great stories. Like each is segmented into perception, action, and then will. And each has a sub story of like, the perception is like probably the biggest chapter for me personally. It's about like recognizing power and choosing your mindset, steadying your nerves. So stories about like keeping a cool head, like Grant was used, like Ulysses S. Grant was used in all of his like abilities to kind of never lose focus and always just keep himself in check and never let his nerves get the best of him. Controlling emotions, so ruling over your own reactions, because we don't really need fight or flight in today's day, but we still have those responses and we need to learn how to control those. Practicing objectivity, so removing the good or bad from a situation, seeing it for what it is, not what our perception says it is. And kind of just going over these, stopping the overthinking and starting to act. Because what really happens is our perception is the problem. So what we think is supposed to be a certain way or a certain, result, we get really discouraged when it doesn't go that way. And that's life. That goes with everything in business and personal relationships and things like that. And then the action segment was really about getting the discipline of action, acting on what happens, kind of turning shit to sugar. Kind of thing.
I love that analogy. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, getting moving. So like you either wear out or rust out. And it's like, don't quit. Just like say yes, push forward and practice persistence. And then using failure as a feature instead of like a hindrance. So everything is just about like push through instead of trying to go around and prepare for none of it to work out.
Yeah.
And then will is the final bit. And that goes along the lines of, there's a lot of stories about like Abraham Lincoln and him using his severe depression to connect to people. And then Roosevelt having, all these disabilities and like crippling asthma as a little kid. And then like deciding I'm going to work out for 5 years and literally worked asthma out of his life. And like all of these amazing stories and kind of the anticipation of thinking negatively. So instead of doing like a project in hindsight, doing it in advance. and thinking of all the ways that things could go wrong and just like rolling with it and then loving everything that happens. So the book is just like this incredible shift in your mindset of like, don't let kind of your monkey brain get the best of you.
The inner dialogue,
Yeah, and just really finding ways to use struggle as an opportunity.
So that's the book side of things. Can you give me some examples where you've used it in your life and gone, oh yeah, I used that from the book, you know?
Well, the funny thing was, is like, I think as entrepreneurs, we all go through these self-developments for like the longest time ever, and it's never ending. So a lot of it, once I started listening to the book, because I barely actually read books anymore, I just listen to them.
Yeah.
I started listening to this book and I was like, a lot of these things I've already started applying because I've been on this journey of self-development and being better because we have to as entrepreneurs, that it almost was more like oh, I'm doing the right thing. I'm going in the right direction. But it does it kept me really steadfast through this year when everyone was it's still current, like losing their mind, and like Amazon is doing a bunch of crazy stuff with like shipping and FBA and pesticides, and just everything was everywhere, and there's riots all over the place. And it was just like, I just thought of that book over and over, like, find the light in the dark.
Yeah.
Where's the opportunity right now while everyone else is being reactive? How can I find the positive in this moment and use it? And I think it really helped me because a lot of things got hindered and like extended for us all this year, like inventory and shipping and messes all over the place. But I use that as an opportunity to focus on, building a really solid brand, building a solid team of people, and doing like the things that I would have generally done next first. So now I have all of this amazing stuff prepped for everything else now that everything is coming, from overseas to really like take things to the next level. So I feel like it really elevated my brand ahead of time.
Yeah. Sounds good. Emma or Anna, have you got any comments on the book?
I was just going to say that it just sounds like there's some synergy with my book.
Yeah.
With the similar things about be proactive and first things first. And
yeah,
I think probably a lot of these books are around, not letting Fred in the head sort of take over, take stock of things and break things down into what you can do rather than react to things that happen around you. So
Steph, what do you do when you call it the monkey brain? You could call it inner dialogue, self-talk. There's all different things. What do you do to obviously get that to subside? Do you ever stop and catch yourself in thinking? Like, for instance, you can always think about something that maybe happens. 9 times out of 10, it doesn't. I think we've mentioned this on the show before. Let's say you had a disagreement with someone. You plan it all out in your head. They're going to say this, you're going to say this. You get there the next day and you both laugh and nothing actually happens. But you've spent all that time worrying about something that is actually physically isn't real. It didn't even happen. It wasn't even a memory because you just planned it all out.
Just like, oh, this is what I think's going to happen because it has probably happened something similar in the past. So I obviously connect those things. That's how our brains work. But for me, I learned to shut up. Like that's like literally, I think that's the best thing I've ever done was just don't do anything at all. I don't overthink it. I've gotten to the point where it's like something happens and I take it for exactly as it presents itself. And I just leave it there.
Yeah.
Like just leave it there because 9 times out of 10, you're going to come back to that situation once your emotions calm down or, your anxiety subsides a little bit and it's not that big of a deal. You can see a much clearer path. If you do nothing in that immediate moment, you just let it exist as it is.
So you're observing the fault. Is that what you're saying?
I like to just take things as they come and give myself time to reflect on them later. I don't even deal with things like that immediately. I just let it sit there.
That's good because I think 99% of the population don't. Their faults are actually real, or they perceive them as real, and that's where, like, with the mental health and stuff like that. That's why there's some good stuff I want to talk about in the show in a few weeks, like mnemonics and affirmations, and your brain as I understand it, as it works, it's like a command center.
Mhm.
And like you can ask it a question, it gives an answer, but it's about asking it the right questions. Does that make sense? And you can say things, I am learning, you know, in terms of an affirmation. Like you notice a lot of affirmations are I am, you know, because it resonates with that side of your brain. As almost, because it's almost like when people have problems with that, it's like a software system is breaking down. It's got a bit of a virus or something like that, and it's just getting everything back on track. But I think a lot of people have that chatter, and it's so ingrained over years and years and years and years, they don't know anything else.
Well,
And
I used to tell my clients this all the time. I say things like, if your inner voice was a friend of yours, would you like them? Like, what are you saying? What are you talking about with yourself all the time? Like, how would you like that person if they were an external human? Because that means you need to change your dialogue if the answer is no.
Yeah. I mean, just said what I've said, but in about 2 seconds. And internal chatter.
In fact, I've had a lot of internal chatter over the years with dark periods of time that I've been in. I tell you what has helped me, EDT. I can't remember what it stands for now. What does it stand for, folks? Something therapy.
Yeah.
What is it? And that's all about having affirmations and things. So I was in some really stressful court hearings, and before I went in them, I would literally do the tapping. And I would actually do something that was just personal on top of that. I love essential oils, so I used to have those little roller balls that kind of used to just like put that smell on me and sort of breathe in and say some positive things before I was going into a really highly stressful situation. And I know everything's psychological, isn't it? So it definitely worked for me. I think you've got to find things that work for you. But I'm pretty good at managing any internal Fred in the head, I call it. So we all have these names.
I know everyone's got names: internal dialogue, chatter, Fred in the head. That's the first time I've heard Fred in the head. That's a new one. Same with you, Emma. Internal chatter. How do you deal with it?
Yeah, so I feel like it's definitely not something I've fully mastered, and it's something that comes in waves. So when I'm really in control of things, it's less of an issue. But as soon as things start to get really intense or overwhelming, then I just kind of default to getting more lost in that. And I found things like taking walks to be really helpful. I got a dog a couple of years ago, and can't overstate how positive of an influence just having this other being that, you know, you can kind of just reconnect with something that's completely separate from whatever craziness is going on. So for me, it's finding actual activities that I can do to help sort of recenter myself, because just trying to say to my mind, oh, you're just overthinking, you're just over chattering, just stop it. Like, that's a losing battle. But being able to take a walk and listen to an interesting podcast or read, like I read every single morning, and that really helps me center and focus myself and ground myself for the day. So those types of habits I find really valuable.
Cool. Should we get onto your book now? What book have you got coming up?
Yeah, so I chose, you know, when you first asked me to do this, I was like, oh, this will be the easiest thing to decide upon. I love reading, no problem. And then I spent over a week sort of like stressing out about what book to pick. And I finally decided upon Failing Forward. And by the way, if you see me keep on looking outside, it looks like nighttime right now, even though it's 10 a.m. We have a crazy storm rolling in, so hopefully that won't impact my reception. But anyway, so this book, Failing Forward, written by John C. Maxwell, and the first way that it impacted me, I didn't even read it. I was 19 and I was studying abroad in Ecuador, and I was getting ready to sort of rethink. I wasn't happy with the university that I was going to, and I was taking this opportunity to kind of think about what steps I wanted to take next. And I've been very fortunate in that I have two great parents who have always been really transparent and open about their journey in self-development. And so it was something that I was exposed to and didn't feel weird or out of place. But my dad mailed me a book while I was in Ecuador called Failing Forward. And I was so excited to get a package, and I opened it, and my stomach just sunk, and I was like, Failing Forward? Like, is my dad calling me a failure? What this is? And I was angry at him, and I couldn't call him because this was before, WhatsApp and ways to stay connected. But I think whenever we finally did connect, I was really hurt by it. And of course, that wasn't his intention at all. And it was him, I think, trying to gently tell me that my perfectionism was going to get in my way if I didn't figure out how to deal with that. And so it was just this book that it was in the back of my mind. And I still didn't really fully accept that because I think I was too young to just take that. But eventually I got around to reading it. And it's this whole idea of really leaning into failure and not only figuring out how to make the most of when failures do happen, but really taking them as a sign that you're doing the right thing and that it's an opportunity to grow and learn. And it's something that from a business side, I think I'm phenomenal at, particularly with our team. Like anytime that somebody makes a mistake, it's always about like, okay, what went wrong here? Where can we make sure that to take this lesson or figure out what needs to be fixed? But on a personal side, it's definitely still something that I very much struggle with, that I know I have a long road ahead of me to go.
What would you say is the key essence of the book that you took away and then you brought into your life and used it, or in your personal life or in your business life?
I think just rethinking what failure means, because I saw it as a really dirty word. Like failure was something that I didn't want to be associated with, that meant that I was doing something wrong and that it was something to avoid. And if you're avoiding it, then first of all, you're still going to fail because that's just a fact of life. But also you're going to stay in a very narrow space. You're not going to grow. You're not going to push yourself. You're not going to continue to develop in the way that you could if you not only accept failure, but even seek it out. Those limits are where that growth really happens and where the opportunities lie. And also where a lot of people aren't willing to go. And so if you are willing to go there, then you also have an opportunity to really set yourself apart in a way that you may not otherwise have.
Cool. Has anyone got any comments on this book, Steph?
No, but it sounds great, because I used to fear failure and rejection a lot. Like I was just like, from a young little person, I was just like the little limelight star of the show, best at every sport kid. And so as I got older, I was like really adverse to not being the best at something, or, being rejected by a person or a thing or a group. And that has been a big struggle of mine through my 20s. But going into my 30s, it was like, if I don't fail, it means I'm not trying.
Yeah.
So I'd like to read that book just as like a reconfirmation of like, yes, failing is a feature, not a problem.
Yeah, I've always said it on the show. It's like, I've just run out of things to fail on and make mistakes. I've just got to the right ways of doing stuff. So I always say I've failed my way to success because I've had a plethora of mistakes, failures, wrong decision making. But you just keep grinding, you keep going. So it's like becomes a thick skin. But
it's more like I've now found a way not to do something.
Yeah.
That's it.
True. But the bit I was going to get to is that with you, if you were high performance about everything and, you turn water to wine and then it stopped, talk to me about how that felt, because that adjustment from being king or queen of the hill to then going on a barren run with things going wrong, like it sounded like it took a long time for you. Like you went from your young to your teens and then in your 20s, but now you're kind of recovering for your 30s. How did that transition? Because it seemed like it took some time as well from your perspective.
Yeah.
Who are you asking, Steph, or are you asking?
Yeah, Steph. No, because what Steph was saying there is like high performance younger years, but then didn't go her way in her 20s, but then realizes in her 30s. There's kind of
I was like a recovering drunk by 21. Let me put it that way. Like I like took a nosedive quick, and the self-discovery and the self-development didn't really start for me till like my mid 20s, and it took a point of like, you're in a dark place and you're broke and you feel alone and you know you're better than this. What are you going to do about it?
Yeah.
And like when I spoke on the last show, it was all about emotional intelligence. That's where it all began.
Yeah.
And it was just like one journey led to another journey, and my inability to work as an employee really kicked off like the self-development, entrepreneurship, working with other people. And then I found my crowd, which is you guys, that was like, oh, we all have these problems. Like we're all the like kind of black sheep of the norm who took our own roads, and we, decided what life was going to look like for us. And a lot of people had those same issues where it was like, we just kept flopping around going, I don't know what I'm doing, but I know I don't want to do this. And so it was just this journey from like being a young kid. I was a choir nerd. So I was like on the stage, limelight, loved it, kind of favorite child situation, to like, I loved smoking weed and drinking through high school, to you're just a hairdresser because you hated going to college in your 20s. And then it just was this strange road to finally realize that I deserved to own a business and help other people, and like found my own identity.
Yeah. But the thing is, some people just don't find it, do they? So sometimes it will take you a lot longer to get there. Yeah.
They quit before they even start. So if the struggle's too hard for you, keep going. Like nothing good happens from comfort. So like I had no problem failing. I'm lucky enough to have people in my life who always made me feel like everything was going to be okay. So I can take risks and fail without really ever feeling the repercussions. I'm never going to be homeless because I tried something and it didn't work out. So I always had like kind of a bed to fall on.
Yeah. Yeah. And failure for you, what's, how do you,
I'd like to read that book, because I know a lot of the time I've discussed in sort of different groups about failing forward. I didn't know there was a book actually titled that, so I'm going to go check it out. But I think maybe it's an age thing, isn't it? As you get older, you realise that all these mistakes that you've made have actually been massive learnings and have kind of created more depth in yourself.
What's
how do you? I'd like to read. Where's that coming from?
A lot of time. I don't know.
Why am I?
There's like a 10-minute delay there. Yeah.
Yeah. So I encourage people who I'm coaching that, like for instance, your first product on Amazon, make sure you just go in low risk, as in the amount of units that you're ordering, and be prepared that you're going to make loads of mistakes.
Yeah.
Because all of those mistakes, because it's kind of from doing the action that you learn. Whereas a lot of people have everything lined up, don't like their website ready, their branding. Spend more time on the names and the branding than actually doing it and learning from something. But I definitely think, obviously, I've shed loads of mistakes, and they've all made me who I am today. And I think the other thing is social media doesn't help, does it? Because you have this idea of perfect that usually links with how you've been brought up and what society's saying. And I think there's probably 90% of people out there that are still maybe not the running business type, because I think sometimes when you run your own business, you have all these mistakes that you learn and you do a lot more self-development. There's a lot of people out there that don't do any self-development and are on this rat race. I don't know where they're climbing to, but it's all about being seen, what people think of them.
You know where they're climbing to either.
No, exactly. But you know what I mean there? I just think there's a lot of people that just literally it's all just about keeping up with the Joneses and what they're putting on Facebook as pretending that they're happy,
Well, I can't remember if it's 6 or 16%, but the stuff that a lot of people post on the uplifting stuff, because no one's going to go on with a flabby belly and say, look at my six pack, because it's not a six pack, right? So you put your best foot forward. But I can't remember where I read it, but it was something like people share on social media the best side of their life, right? And why not? Why wouldn't you you're not going to sit there and post all the shitty side. But the thing is, it's
I
like
love it when people do that.
No, but that's right. There are certain people who do, but I'm just saying en masse, right? But they said, I can't remember what the statistic was, something like 6 or 16% of their life. So, but then what happens to the other chunk of their life? Because you only get, like the holidays, and we all post pictures of that holiday and, stuff online. But it's interesting because it's only a small percentage of your life. And if people are aspiring, looking at it, whether it's, oh, congratulations, I wish I could do that, or envious, it's only a small fraction of most people's lives. Does that make sense? So it doesn't show the full potential. It just shows you like a snapshot into someone's life, whereas people are aspiring to live that life 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, but life isn't necessarily like that.
Exactly.
Have you heard of the Instagram page Influencers in the Wild? Because it does a great job of kind of bringing some humor into that. It has pictures and videos of the lengths that people go to take these, beautiful photos and how ridiculous it is. Because I see them
around places. I'm like, can you just live your life? What are you doing? Like doing things all over. I'm like, you're at a shopping center. Like,
I do love those ones that are circling where they've got like a lady like posing in a really seductive manner, and then there's someone doing it in reality who's just like collapsing on the side of those.
Or like when guys remake girl photos that are supposed to be sexy, they look ridiculous.
Influencers in the Wild. I'm going to pull it up now. Let's have a look.
It's pretty. It's I've just decided that for me, I'm going.
It's only a hashtag. There isn't seem to be.
So then here, let me see.
Let's have a look, and then maybe we'll share the screen. And have a bit of fun.
Because I just found, I went through a period of time where I was getting so stuck on thinking about all of the things that everybody else was doing. And it was really keeping me from being able to do the things that I needed to do.
Right, I'm going to bring it up on the screen. Someone send me the link. Let's have a crack. I'm going to put this up on the screen so we can go through it together. Influences in the Wild. I'm looking forward to this. It's not rude though, is it? Okay.
Share your screen.
As I sit there and swear all the time on the show.
It's rude. It's funny.
Here's the link.
Drop it into our Facebook chat, Em, and then I'll bring it up on the screen.
I'm not even on Facebook.
No, I put it in the messenger.
Okay, a private message. Here we go. Let's give this a go. God help us all. Right.
It's pretty silly.
Let's have a look. All right, let's. I'll share my screen. 1 second. Can you see it?
Yeah. Yep.
Cool. So we've got, this is video. This is Tank Sinatra, apparently, this one. So these are mainly videos, are they? So
yeah, so they're videos of people taking Instagram photos. And
let me know if you can. Can you see that and hear the music?
I can't hear it, but I can see it.
Okay. So they're playing the music of Titanic behind on this guy's standing. What's this one here? Come on, load page. That doesn't look like it's going to load. Here we go. What we got here? Here we go. Wearing a mask.
So bored. Honest to God. I don't have time for like any of this. That's why my Instagram looks like me when I'm actually doing something.
Blimey. They look like they need to get a fucking job.
Honestly.
This is their job. That's the unfortunate.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Or maybe not. Maybe they're aspiring to make it.
So they're just camera. Let's see if there's some funny ones here.
Oh, yes. Oh. That's a lot.
It's WAP they're playing at the moment. They'll get banned for that. What we got here?
The McDonald's floor. That's a bigger issue.
Maybe if I take my headphones off, you can hear the music.
Very good.
What else we got here?
Oh,
That one's on a stripper pole.
A portable. I like that it's portable and that they've taken it to the beach to get that moment caught on camera for all time.
Cool. Let's have another look here. What's we got here?
oh.
Sometimes they're a little more bloopery. They're kind of like hit and miss, but there are some pretty great ones if you are looking for a way to waste your time for 20 minutes.
A bed on the beach. Okay, now let's have a look. What's this?
I know who he's voting for.
It's just fucking nonsense, isn't it? What's this one here? What's this? What is she doing?
Twerking.
Yeah. She's living in her own music video of fabulousness.
Oh. Sometimes I'm embarrassed to be a human.
I think it just shows you how much our devices completely distort.
Everyone doing the same.
I'll skip that one.
I'm like
blind. Yeah. What the fuck is going on here? What is the point of that?
I don't know, but I'm sure she'll get 700 likes for it.
Yeah.
Whoop.
She fell through the door. You know, what's going on there? Oh, he landed on his face, broke his neck. Jesus Christ. Yeah, there's a lot more bloopers in this one, isn't there? Okay, let's get back on with the show. We've probably gone right off course here, but I just thought it'd be worth having a look to see how silly it was.
They all need it.
Fam says books change 9 to 5 job mindset into entrepreneur mindset. Sharon says Emma with some love arts there. Ray says, hey Emma, was the book Falling Forward by John C. Maxwell? Yes. So sounds like it is. Wellington has said, good morning guys, great show today. And Tim says influences in the wild is fantastic, so funny and brilliant. Okay, so is there anything you want to cover before we go? I tell you what we haven't spoke about on the show for a while. I'm going to actually do a show about it. It's like the talk, apart from propaganda, masks and all sorts of stuff, it seems like it's quieting down a lot in terms of COVID, the chatter. Does that make sense? I feel like we're almost in like a new normal at the moment. We haven't fully shut down in the UK. How are you finding it out there? I mean, I'm in a little village, so I'm a bit more remote, but it doesn't feel like it was back in March when it really kind of
everyone
took
was
off.
terrified also because we didn't know what was what. Where now we're like, oh, they've been wrong about everything, so I guess we'll make up our own minds.
So
I spent the weekend in London. I spent the weekend in London. I haven't been down to London since all this happened, and it's just, I think everyone's just, like you say, getting used to wearing masks and doing certain things, and went to a restaurant and all that. It just, like you say, it's like a new norm now. Yeah,
it's just wondering if we're going to get back to anywhere resembling, like going back like with events and all those kind of things. I want to get back on the road to the conferences and stuff. Obviously, none of that really is going to happen next year. I think everyone's sick of Zoom calls. I can't remember the last Zoom party I had. That was months ago. I gave up after about 3 or 4 of those. But you just, they just do your head in the end, don't they? They just, So, I mean, what are you guys doing? Are you going out and seeing people still? Like, are you making effort to book out and go and see family, friends and stuff? So you're getting out?
So we kind of have an interesting situation here. I live in a college town, and so the numbers were really, really low for pretty much the entire time. However, and like they sent students home and everything. And then the school decided to try to give it a go with bringing students back. And so as a result, over the last few weeks, the numbers have really started to skyrocket, which has caused the city to put in some much stricter ordinances of how late bars can be open and how large of gatherings you can have. But we had a pretty revolutionary experience on Saturday, which is that we got together with a couple of couples, and it was really the first time since all of this started that we sat for hours and talked and didn't talk about politics and didn't talk about COVID. Because I don't know if any of you have had that experience where when you see people, because there's so little going on, it's just sort of like the default topic. And I as much as I crave seeing people, I always also leave those interactions feeling a little like anxious and stressed, and like it wasn't as wasn't that food for the soul as I expected it to be. And so to get together with friends and laugh and talk about things that weren't, it was fantastic.
Yeah, I booked in, I think it started about a month or so ago. I've been out a few times because when we first went on lockdown, I actually never went anywhere. I was in the village and I went to the park with the dog, but I never went to a shop for 43 days.
Oh, for heaven's sake.
At the very beginning. And then it got to that point where you're climbing the walls. There's only so much work you can do and you got bored. So I had stuff to look forward to. I now book something every couple of weeks. Like I went out with Kata and Matt Phipps, friends of the show, and a couple of weeks ago we went to London. We're then this week we're off to Bournemouth to a beach place. Another friend in the industry that they just bought an investment place down there, so we're off down there. And then the week after, back in London again, going to meet up. Similar kind of group thing. We'll go out for day, food and drinks, and then October 3rd, I've got a thing that I've arranged. So what I've been doing is that I book stuff up, so I've got something to look forward to, and I think that makes a big difference. Seeing different people, and obviously socially distanced, doing everything properly. But there's only so many times that you can see immediate family and stuff, which is fantastic. But it's nice to get out further to different groups of people and have different conversations, like you said.
Definitely.
So, Steph, have you been out anywhere?
Oh God, I barely participated in quarantine. Okay, so to be fair, Atlanta, like Georgia, the state of Georgia has been the experimental state for the rest of the country to go off of. Like our mayor was the last to shut down. And we were the first to open. So we've been fully open since May.
Right. Okay.
And I still went to the grocery store every week through the first 2 months. And then after May, I drove up to Michigan, spent a whole month with my family, threw a couple parties. I flew back up there actually a week and a half ago to surprise my little brother for his birthday party, and then flew home like a day later. It just felt good to I was just excited to go to the airport and just go anywhere. So it was like a day and a half trip. I go out to eat all the time. I go to the gym every day. My brother just came down to visit for the weekend. We went to bars and restaurants. There was actually a point where we went to a bar that was too crowded, and I was legitimately
I won't do that. We were the only, last week we stayed in, we were out where we do seller sessions. We stayed in a hotel. There was no breakfast or anything there. There's perspex glass. There is barely anyone in the hotel. In the restaurant, we were the only people eating there. Mm-hmm. And then we went to the rooftop terrace again, socially distanced. And then when we went to another bar, there was 3 people in a 110 capacity venue.
So most of the bars and restaurants have been spaced out accordingly. This one pocket of Atlanta, it's like nothing ever happened. It's like you get a temperature check at the door and they were just like, welcome. And I'm like, it was fine at first because it wasn't busy, and it got busier and busier. And I was like, we definitely have COVID. Like, we should go.
Yeah.
It was like, oh my God. So that was the end of that. And I mean, I've just lived regular life for a long time now, and I'm lucky because I'm fine, but I've never been one to touch things and then put my hands on my face anyway. So I feel like I didn't have to change that many things, and you wear a mask when you go to grocery stores and stuff, and all is well. But I've definitely traveled and resumed life as normal as I can. Because
I think people in built up cities, like I heard in New York, and this was a few weeks ago, they reckon in the center of New York, it's the city, it's 4,000 businesses at that point have already gone. So it's going to be interesting once things come out, what is left, if it carries on this same trajectory. And you went to London this weekend. Was that your first weekend out, pretty much?
Yeah, well, yeah, I said to my mum recently, I've been self-isolating for years, just don't like people. No, but I think being a single parent and kind of like juggling with weekends away, I don't tend to have many of them anyway. But yeah, I was meant to be going to Ibiza, wasn't I? So the flight was cancelled. So I thought I'm still gonna hang out with people I want to hang out with. So I think it's definitely like you said, planning stuff, because me and my friend this weekend we booked something in for November. Just having things to look forward to is always good. And not worrying about it. Goes back to Freddie the Head, doesn't it? I think a lot of people have been like, I think it was Emma said about friends, that the conversation has been about COVID. You don't kind of want to be around those people. So
no.
The negative chat, really, I suppose. So it's being around the people you want to be around, and weighing up all the risks and not taking it too literally, I think.
Yeah, I mean, you still wear your mask, you got your hand sanitizer, you make sure you distance, and I play by the rules, but it's like when we go, like you said, there is no way you'll get me if the place is packed. Like we went to a park or whatever, and as we pulled out, I went, nope, we're going, that's it, not going anywhere near it, because it was like when people are wall-to-wall on a beach and stuff like that, it's like, no, I'm not going anywhere.
Exactly. I was thinking it might be like that in London, and actually, it
was empty. When I travelled in, like there's probably even on like the trains going in, you sit in first class, so there's barely anyone in there anyway. But they were empty. Literally empty. Everywhere is empty. You've got a few people scattering around. So it was always made sure we stayed distanced. Em, what have you done over COVID? Have you managed to get out anywhere?
No, we've really pretty much stayed put. I would rather be safe than sorry. I mean, I don't think that we've overdone it with how safe, like we haven't gotten to the point that we're just not leaving the house at all. I felt much safer leaving the house once the city that we're in started requiring face masks. I did feel anxiety prior to that, having to go to the grocery store, and like, it's just, I feel like for me, one of the things that I think about is like, how long will it feel weird and uncomfortable to like have people too close to your personal bubble, like you see friends, and rather than having a hug goodbye, you're just kind of like, okay, bye, good night, like there's just so much more weirdness.
Everyone.
I don't know. I feel like for us, one of the biggest challenges has been around family, because we have different family members that interpret how safe or not safe they want to be differently. And so like my grandmother's birthday was a few weeks ago, and she was turning 89. And I just felt like maybe there should be a little bit more precaution around celebrating that outside, instead of all sitting around a table being really close to each other and things like that. And that was a difficult position to be in, because on the one hand, I want to be participating in family celebrations, but then I also felt like if I didn't say something, or at least make the choice that I felt comfortable with, if heaven forbid something would have happened, that would have been guilt that I was going to be carrying around. And I don't know. I've talked to other people that have similar sorts of issues, specifically with family and those things. So
for sure. Well, my family doesn't live down here, so it's like if I was out, I wait 2 weeks before I went there, and then like, you know what I mean. So I haven't seen my grandma this year. I get a COVID test next Tuesday. I will see her after that. Like, so it's like, I don't really have anyone I have to be concerned about other than me. So it's like, I don't have to deal with those things on a daily basis. I take the precautions of like limiting my exposure for like 2 weeks and then going.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Should we wrap there? I think we've pretty much covered everything. We put the world to rights as well. Or our little bubble.
And we also had some fun on Instagram.
Oh, yeah. I have to spend hours wasted away on that later due to COVID.
I'm going to go and check it out.
Things my therapist says is my other most favorite Instagram. I like that one even better. If you suffer from the mind chatter and all those things, it has lots of pretty funny posts related to those topics. So if you need a smile.
Cool. Steph, if people want to reach you, what's the best way?
Steph Khalikyar on Instagram, or I'm always available on Facebook.
So we won't find you on that channel that we were just talking about earlier on. There will be nothing.
No, I'm kind of like selfie challenged. I'm the last person to be an influencer.
Anne, what's the best way of reaching you? We lost you there. You back again?
I keep getting a bit.
Got a bit of delay there. Emma, what's the best way of reaching you? And we'll go back to Anne.
Marketingbyemma.com, here on Facebook. Those are the two main places that I'll be most available.
Cool. Anne, have we got you back? No, I think we're losing her. Guys, don't forget at the bottom here, seller poll voting is now open, which is brought to you by Thrasio. Tomorrow we'll be doing a show on PPC automation versus human control. I have a roundtable there. And then on Wednesday, we're bringing in Casey Goss for an in-depth with him. We're going to follow up from Viral Launch and those days there and his new move to Thrasio. So it should be a really interesting story. And then we have another one booked in for Thursday. Other than that, enjoy the rest of the week. Anne, are you back there? Can you say your goodbyes? No, we've lost your audio there. There she is. You back? Okay, she's waving goodbyes. So if you want to find her on Facebook, it's Anna Davidson. Check out her profile there. Any questions you have for her. Guys, lovely to see you. We'll get you back again in the future. And yeah, I'll be back here 4 p.m. BST tomorrow. Take care.
See ya.
Thank you. Bye.